Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now, today's first story was a suggestion over on our own subreddit from Hedwig Flies Again, so thank you so much for that. And it's originally from the Am I the Arsehole, Would I Be the Arsehole public subreddit. And it says, am I the arsehole for expecting my sister to finally pay me back for her wedding 5 years later? I, 32 female, am still so frustrated over this, and honestly, I need some outside perspective. 5 years ago, my sister, 30 female, got married and was struggling financially at the time. I stepped in to help and ended up covering a big chunk of her wedding costs. Venue deposit, catering, and decorations. We agreed she'd pay me back once she got on her feet, and I trusted her. But every time I brought it up over the years, she'd brush it off with things like, "Don't worry about it," or "You were such a big help, just think of it as my gift from you." I didn't want to start family drama, so I let it slide, but it's always bothered me. Fast forward to last week, she calls asking if I can help her with a down payment for a new house. The amount she needs, pretty much the same as what she still owes me. I told her I'd be willing to help, but only after she pays me back for the wedding first. She got defensive immediately, saying it's been so long and that I'm being unfair for holding it over her head. She insists she thought I had just gifted her the money. Now she's not speaking to me, and even my parents are trying to convince me to just let it go for the sake of peace. Ugh. But it feels like she's been taking advantage of my kindness for years, and I'm tired of pretending it's fine. So am I the arsehole for expecting her to pay me back after all this time, or is she just avoiding accountability? Now let's face it, you didn't hold it over her head, she just never followed through on her promise. There was an agreement that she would pay back. 5 years doesn't magically erase that debt. If she genuinely thought it was a gift, she wouldn't have agreed to repay you in the first place. I kind of wonder how many other people has she been borrowing from at the same time. Has she done this with your parents as well? And you know, she just got very comfortable in doing this. But if I'm being brutally honest on this, I wouldn't hold your breath about ever seeing that money again. And I'd seriously be taking a step back from someone like that in the first place. The commenter says to OP, not the arsehole. If she can't afford the down payment, she can't afford the house. How will she pay for insurance amongst other home costs? Will she expect you to pay for those as well? Next time you loan money you want back, write up a contract with terms, or if it's a large enough sum, small claims court. Another commenter replies to that one saying, better advice is don't loan money to family and friends. Gift them money with the hope they pay you back. Court is messy, and you don't want to go through that with family and friends. It's better to just say no. Disastrous says never lend family money you can't afford to lose. They rarely pay it back unless you set up official documents, and even then it's a struggle. Don't lend her any more money. It's not up to you to support her. If she can't afford the deposit, then she needs to save for a few more years. Tell your parents it's not your job to help her out. That's their problem as she's their daughter. Another commenter says not the arsehole. Tell her you will take her to small claims court if she doesn't pay you back. I would imagine you have emails and texts where she committed to repay you. Tell your parents that they can pay you back, but you're not letting it go. Let everyone know that she didn't pay you back for the wedding, so they shouldn't loan her a penny. Furious says not the arsehole. She couldn't afford the wedding and she can't afford the house. It clearly wasn't a gift by virtue of the fact that you kept bringing it up. She just thought if she wears you down, you'd give up. At least you won't lend her any money again. I'd also stop buying her birthday and Christmas presents and take it off the top of what she owes, painstakingly. So OP did come back in to update the post, and they said, wow, I didn't expect my post to get as much attention as it did. Thank you everyone who commented. I read through hundreds of them, and honestly, it gave me the clarity and backbone I really needed. So here's what happened after I posted. A few days later, my sister texted me out of the blue with this passive-aggressive message saying, I hope you're happy. Mum's upset because we're fighting again. Money shouldn't come between family. I replied calmly that money isn't what's between us. It's a lack of honesty and accountability. She didn't like that. That night she called me and launched into this emotional guilt trip about how hard things have been for her, how she and her husband are trying their best, and how it's just money. I told her point blank, it's not just money, it's about respect. You promised to pay me back, and you never did. Then I said something I've been holding in for years. You only remember I exist when you need something. There was a long silence, then she hung up. Cue my parents stepping in. My mum called saying I'm creating division and that family doesn't keep score. My dad was more neutral but admitted that my sister does have a history of forgetting her debts. Apparently she borrowed from him too. Here's where things really turned. My brother-in-law actually reached out to me privately. He apologized, said he didn't realize I'd paid for so much of the wedding and that my sister had downplayed it as a small loan. He told me he had talked to her about making things right. 2 days later, I got a transfer for exactly half the amount she owes me with a message. And unfortunately, the message isn't there on the post for some reason, and it says, then OP continued to say it's not the full repayment, but it's progress. The real kicker, my sister then posted this cryptic story on Facebook, and again, the quote bit is missing, but it says, so yeah, she's still being petty. But I honestly don't even care anymore. I finally stood up for myself, and that feels better than the money ever could. Verdict from me? I'm not the arsehole. I was just tired of being the family ATM with a smile. If this whole thing taught me anything, it's that boundaries don't make you cold. They protect you from being taken advantage of. I'll just read the top comment on this one, which said, wow, that her husband had no idea that you paid for so much of the wedding as you had. And funny that she suddenly had the cash to pay you back. So you go, girl, and hold the line on not giving her money ever again. And lastly, screw your mum for continuing to take the side of the obvious golden child. We are all proud of you for standing your ground. I was left wondering after that if that have any effect on the sisters and the husband's relationship as well. She's clearly been talking shit in the background for some time about this, so I wonder if that will have any impact on them. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Our next story comes from docwario from the relationships subreddit and says, my 33 male, girlfriend 25 female of 5 months boasts about me being a doctor and is hinting at marriage and kids already. I don't want to assume anything, but I fear she might just want me for my money. Throw away because she knows my real account. Also, I'm Italian and prefer Wario to Mario. Good taste, my friend, good taste. I main Wario in Mario Kart, of course. Absolutely behind that. I hope he continues. A little background. I've only had 2 long-term relationships before her. My high school girlfriend, whom I was with for 6 years, 16 to 22, and my other girlfriend, whom I was with for 4 years, 26 to 30. Both breakups were amicable, no infidelity or shady happenings. They were primarily my fault, due to how I prioritized studying/work over them. I'm still friends with my second girlfriend, who is now married to a good man and has 2 kids. In between those relationships and before I met my current girlfriend, I've been keeping things casual, no commitment. I met my current girlfriend 6 months ago at a bar, while out with some friends, and as corny as it sounds, it was love at first sight. She was unquestionably the most gorgeous woman I've ever seen, easily 15 out of 10. We got to talking, went on some amazing dates, and made things official after 1 month. I was just enamored by her sense of humor, how enthusiastic and exciting she was, and always in awe of her beauty. Although we don't have too many interests in common, the chemistry is tremendous, and I've never felt so strongly attracted to anyone before. We already said we loved each other 4 months in, and I truly believe it. But lately, some things have started to bother me. When she introduced me to her friends, she bragged about me being a doctor. It was seemingly light-hearted, so I laughed and went jokingly bragged about it too. When she introduced me to her parents, she did the same thing, but with more gusto this time. Over the last month and a half, she'd been talking more and more about marriage and children, although never quite explicitly saying that we will get married and have kids. The hints are strong though. Last week, we went to a charity event she was involved in, and every single person she introduced me to that night, she said the same thing. Hello, this is my lovely boyfriend and the man I will spend my life with, docwario. He's a cardiologist, you know. I've always been fairly modest about what I do, so it was uncomfortable for me to hear her gush about my job to strangers. I was feeling uncomfortable but smiled and went along with it so as to not dampen her mood. And the man I will spend my life with part hit me like a speeding truck. She didn't say future husband, but fuck me if I don't know what her implication was. I love my girlfriend, and I did believe prior to all this that I would eventually marry her and have children with her. I didn't expect this to come up fucking 5 months in. Now I'm fearing that she's just a gold digger and is using me as a provider. She moved in after 3 months. I truly hope that isn't the case, but the signs seem to sure point to it, and if it is that way, I think I'll break up with her. So I'm here to ask, am I overthinking this, or is the worst true? I pray to God I'm looking too far into this, but now that I'm actually reading what I wrote, this is terrifying. I can't even confront her about this for fear of turning her away from me. I can't accuse her of using me for money and still expect her to stay with me or respect me after that. So, as always, people were asking OP questions. One says, she moved in, but does she contribute to the household or do you fully support her? In her life plan comments to you, does she mention anything about a future career, or is she planning to be a stay-at-home mum, and would you be okay with that? OP says, she said she wants to be a stay-at-home mum, like her own mother was. She doesn't really contribute to the household. I pay the bills and also pay for new furniture, appliances, etc. She does pay sometimes when we go out though. Commenter replies saying, oh boy, you walked right into that one. I'm sorry, but your suspicions might be founded. If you aren't engaged or married, your girlfriend should contribute to the household, even if not equally due to the disparity of incomes. OP says, she does take care of the household stuff, yes, vacuuming, cooking, laundry, etc. She handles most of it. Going all the J says, have you told her the constant parading bothers you? She could just be thrilled because her last few relationships were with people who ended up being unambitious losers. But he's a doctor. I can totally understand shouting that from the rooftops in front of her parents. That's kind of like the dream. Friends could also be okay, but obviously it's to the point where it bothers you. If you haven't brought this up with her, you'll be able to tell a lot about her motives based on how she reacts. Commenter replied to that saying, yeah, I feel like a lot of parents would be pretty psyched to have their kid marrying a doctor. It shows their partner is ambitious and driven due to the education requirements alone. Maybe the last couple of guys she dated, her parents didn't think highly of due to their occupation. However, that doesn't really explain why she'd be so eager to keep introducing you like that to strangers and friends. Maybe she feels insecure about her own achievements, so she wants to brag about yours to get praised by proxy. That's one of the few things I could think of. My dad kind of gets like that sometimes. He'll brag about us to people we meet and has a tendency to exaggerate a bit. He does it out of pride, but I think there's some ulterior motives there as well. OP replies to these saying, she never really had any lasting relationships, only lasting a few months each. I'm not sure how that went over my head when writing the OP, but it only adds to my suspicions. Shit. Throwaway Fart says, these names. You only care about her looks. She only cares about your money and career. Sounds like a match made in heaven to me. OP says, I realize I come across as shallow. I don't just care about her looks. I'll admit that her looks are what attracted me to her in the first place, but her personality is what kept me around. Like I said, we don't share too many common interests, but we can talk for hours about the most mundane things and still have fun doing so. But your second sentence seems spot on, especially after reading what everyone else wrote. Commenter says to OP, fuck nothing, it's been 5 months. You still have time before you get super attached. It'd just be awkward as fuck to kick her out. She must be crazy in the sack though for you to have her moved in after 2 months. Just saying. OP says we'll probably get downvoted, but yes, she's an animal in the bedroom. Commenter replies saying, look, if you just want a pretty girlfriend who is an animal in the bedroom, I'm sure no one would blame you. If she's easygoing and funny and loving besides. But yeah, you're going to pay most of everything for her, and she's already loving the life of a doctor's wife. Might not even be that bad of a deal. OP says she's delightful, easygoing, and hilarious, a joy to be around. We don't share too many interests, different taste in movies, books, and hobbies, etc., but we do connect really well. It's not just about appearance and sex, despite what some posters are saying about me. Commenter says, she's also moved in after 3 months, living on your dime after 5 and parading you like a show dog. The problem being at 5 months everyone can be delightful, especially if she can throw in a blowjob or two to throw you off the game. You posted because you were sick of the showboating. Why not just accept it? She enjoys your status and money and probably likes you a lot too. You enjoy her personality and looks and probably like her a lot too. If it makes you feel a bit cheap to be paraded around like that, please read all the comments you made about her looks and her sexual skills. and then feel just a little bit guilty, and then allow her the pleasure of showboating you and your money, or tell her to quit. Opie says because I've been raised to be humble and modest about my wealth and status. I hate telling people I'm a doctor. I didn't even tell her until the third date. I don't like being paraded about. I don't like showboating. So then Opie come in with the update, and it started just like this. She is a gold digger. I was fairly certain of this before I spoke to her, due to a particular comment that argued this point in bullet format. Shout out to User Nation. It says, 7-year age gap. Not the biggest, but a 25-year-old retail worker is worlds apart from a 33-year-old cardiologist in many, many ways. Few common interests. Certainly not a necessity, but often people in relationships share at least some interests. Short courtship. Again, there's no hard rule about this, but cohabitation after 3 months is generally frowned upon because neither party really knows what they're getting into. I get introducing you to her parents as the doctor. That would make any parent happy about the situation, but to everyone else, shouldn't it just be my wonderful boyfriend? Income disparity. Again, there is nothing wrong with people from two different economic groups falling in love, but the gap has to be relatively large, no? Hinting at marriage and kids. After 6 months? Dude, as much as you don't know her, she doesn't really know you. It's certainly possible that she's just immature, but with everything else. Past relationship history. From the comments. Having lots of short relationships is again not a bad thing in and of itself. But you have to wonder why they were so short. Was it the guys? Could be, but the common denominator is her. Financial contribution. She doesn't contribute to your shared household. Now, if this was discussed and established beforehand, well, whatever works for you guys. And she works in retail, so she can't be an equal contributor with you. But it seems like you've taken on the provider role as a default without actually talking about it. So all of these things, taken together, would certainly indicate that she is a gold digger. But I was still willing to talk it out in hopes that I would be wrong. On Saturday night, I took her out to dinner at a meh-level restaurant. First omen was that she got a bit miffed and asked why we weren't going to an elegant restaurant like we usually do. I said I didn't want to spend hundreds on a meal that night. I could tell she was annoyed. The food at the mediocre restaurant was still great, but she still wasn't very happy during the meal. After dinner we came home and I told her I need to speak to her about future plans. First I explained that we need to spend less on luxuries and save up for retirement and for my other projects. This is also true, as I do intend to retire within the next 20 years, and I'm also looking to get into real estate. She was upset about this. Next, I told her I don't have any interest in marrying soon or having kids yet. This wasn't a lie. I truly do not want to get married or have children yet. She got upset again, saying I'm just getting older and soon I won't be able to have a family. She said it's not fair to her for me to keep stringing her along without committing, and this caused me to do a double take. What the fuck? I let her move in with me. I pay all the bills. I pay her tons of shit all the time, and I'm strictly monogamous. What other commitment aside from the fancy wedding is there? I told her this, and she was now visibly frustrated. She said she wants marriage and children soon. I told her she can do that with another person, since we're not on the same page. She started yelling at me for being an arsehole, so I told her that one day I would marry her, probably within the next 3 to 4 years. I thought this was reasonable enough, but she said she wants marriage now, to be Mrs. Docwario by this time next year. I told her that we could definitely get married early, but only if we get a prenup. She flipped out, screaming that I don't trust her and think lowly of her. I brought up every point Nation did. I mentioned everything from the income disparity to the astoundingly fast pace of the relationship to her constant parading me around as a doctor. I told her all of those facts, as well as her present behavior proved she's a gold digger. I told her we are done. At this point she breaks down into tears and is mumbling incoherently. I tell her I help her find an apartment and cover her expenses for a month. I called her friend, who's on good terms with me, to pick her up. She left soon after without much protest. She's still at her friend's. She's been texting me asking if she can come home. I agreed, and she's coming back tomorrow. I'll serve her the eviction notice tomorrow. I plan to help her search for an affordable housing, and I'm willing to help get her on her feet. I know she's a gold digger and doesn't deserve this courtesy, but the last 5 months have been pretty great, and I feel it's the least I can do. Eventually, we will phase out into no contact. That's it for me. It's sad things turned out like this, but like a few users pointed out, it's better to end things now than years into a marriage, when I have nothing to talk about with her because we share almost no interests. Edit. I'm going to stop responding now. It's unsettling that so many people here are not just defending her gold digging, but justifying and praising it as well. Truly unsettling. Regardless, I'm done with the issue. We're done. She's moving out, and I'm going to venture forth into the dating world in search of a woman who loves me, not my wallet. Wario forever. One of the top comments after this said to OP, I'm going to take the dissenting opinion here and label you as insecure. You make about 500k a year? That's a big deal, and all women will find that attractive. You're naive if you think it's not going to matter going forward. Also, she liked you enough to go on 3 dates with you without even knowing you're a doctor. Also, was she calling you up and asking for money and gifts, or were you just doing this out of your free will? You took her to expensive restaurants. You paid for her shit. These were decisions you made. I'd be pissed too if my SO did a complete 180 out of nowhere. It's not about the money, it's an asshole move and deceiving. OP says, I wasn't buying fancy shit out of the blue. She would passively suggest things to buy. I think that designer purse looks really nice, maybe I'll go get it. She gets it, but guess who gives her the money to do so? Commenter replied to that saying, OP, are you a treater? When you go out with friends, do you always offer to pick up the bill? This all sounds like a problem that you have with saying the word no. If she isn't asking you for the money directly, then why are you treating her words as a request for money? Based on your quote of her, she's just rambling about clothes like any other person does. It sounds like you are assuming that she wants money and then you pull out your wallet and hand the money over, while remaining silent about your true feelings. And then you're blaming her because you didn't say no. She didn't open your wallet and take your money, you gave it to her out of your own free will. If you don't want to do something, then say no. Don't blame her because you cannot stand up for yourself. OP says, when I go out with friends, we split the bill. I understand that I chose to give her the money. It was obvious that she wouldn't actually buy anything herself, and she would often text me pictures of what she would want, mention the price, etc. OP then comes in with her own comment and says, come on guys, I'm not fucking stupid. There's no way I'm going to have sex with her again. That thought didn't even cross my mind since I dumped her. And reading some of the responses, I'm not sure if I should go through with helping her out. The amount of money isn't an issue, but now I'm starting to feel like it can be better spent elsewhere than on a woman who wanted me mostly for money. Commenter replies saying, you say you aren't stupid, but you did move someone in with you, pay all her bills that you were only dating for 5 months, so you can see why we all felt the need to say, don't bang her again, right? OP says, fair enough. Truthfully, I didn't want to move her in that early, but our roommate woes accelerated it. OP replied to someone else saying, despite what the majority of posters would like to believe, I didn't date her because of her looks. I will concede though that her looks are what attracted to me in the first place. In the future, I'll be sure to choose partners more carefully. Commenter quotes OP saying, no, she's a gold digger and doesn't deserve this courtesy, but the last 5 months have been pretty great, and I feel it's the least I can do. And then says, you hooked up with a woman with whom you shared no common interest because she was gorgeous and good in bed. It turns out her interest in you was just as shallow. Go ahead and break up, but painting her as the villain here is unfair. And the final comment says, next time don't move in and pay all the bills for someone you've only been dating 5 months. Use your brain, not your dick. Don't bang her again. Don't be alone with her, ever. And there was a huge mix of comments after this one. Some people calling OP an absolute Burke, other people saying bullet dodged, whilst others, like some of the comments, were saying, you know, they deserve each other in some ways. But what do you guys make of this situation? How would you feel? What do you think of this one? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. Truly, it's absolutely amazing. And I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.